And Kenneth, we're glad to have you here today. And why don't we start off where you lived, when you went into service, and when you went in.
I lived in St. Louis, Hamden County. Went into the Army Air Corps right from high school, St. Louis U High, in 1943.
All right. Where did you get sent when you enlisted? Where did you go first for training?
Okay, basic training at Jefferson Barracks, College Training Detachment at Washington U. And I went to San Antonio, then to Denver, to Fort Lauriefield and Fort Logan. And I went to New Jersey for overseas shipment as a basic soldier. I went to England, to Sudbury, England, on a B-17 base, and I repaired battle damage to airplanes for two and a half years. And then the war ended. I came home right away. I was back home before I was 21.
When you were down at San Antonio, that window hadn't been Lackland Air Force Base, right?
No, this was SAC.
Okay.
That was
All right.
cadet training.
All right. Okay. Well, of course, Texas has a lot of Air Force bases. I know.
I wasn't there long.
But I know at San Antonio alone, there's Kelly Air Force Base, Lackland Air Force Base, and I think maybe Randolph Air Force Base. But I just thought maybe we had shared one of the same ones. Have you, what did you find when you got overseas in England? Tell me something about what it was like being in England, and you were there during the build-up, building up the power to push against Europe. What was it like in there?
Well, I was in the 486 bombardment group, 470-30 sub-depot. I think probably one of the worst things that I experienced was we first had B-24s on our field. And on our first mission, they overloaded these B-24s. And as they were taking off for their first mission, the runway wasn't long enough, so they crashed. Full bomb load, full gas load, full crew. The first three airplanes crashed at the end of the runway and blew up. I was pretty far away, but all I could hear was the 50 caliber bullets exploding. The bomb didn't explode. But that was a disaster.
Did they get the others stopped?
They stopped the mission, scrubbed the mission. And then we pretty quick changed over to B-17 that took shorter runway.
Yeah, that would be kind of an eye-opener, wouldn't it? We've had others that we've interviewed have been pilots of B-24s and so forth. It wasn't long-range one, but B-17 was kind of noted for its toughness and what.
Flying fortress.
Yeah. Who were some of your special friends that you made over there? Do you have any friends you became close to?
Well, because I went over as a basic soldier, I was put in a group with people I didn't know anyone. Went over and I wasn't stationed. I was stationed with nobody I knew. But I made a lot of good friends. But they're diversified all over the United States. I did visit with two friends of mine. One was in the infantry in Indian Invasion. I was 70 miles from the beach during D-Day. And but this friend, I visited these friends.
Yeah. Did when D-Day happened? I'm sure there was lots of excitement in Europe, you know, a lot of apprehension and all those different feelings. I don't know as I want to ask you if there was a celebration or anything, but was there a feeling that they were glad that it was on its way, and because they've been looking forward to that?
Yes, I would say, yeah. It was quite impressive because, as I say, I was fairly close to the beach at 70 miles. But all the airplanes and aircraft, the sky was this full. And yes, that was exciting.
The invasion itself, from that point on, how do I want to put this? From the time that the invasion got started, we really unleashed our air power and our sea power and so forth. From that point on, was there ever much in the way of defense of England? Did the Germans ever make any further air attacks on England itself?
Yes. I saw very few air raids and stuff, but I saw many V-1. They would naturally come right. We were northeast of London, and these things were released over the North Sea. So they came right over our base, or right near it. We saw many of them shot down in airplanes, by airplanes and anti-airplanes. That's all was exploding here. I was also in London at the time V2s hit, and that was pretty impressive too.
You didn't see those, did you?
No. You just heard a double explosion. Boom, boom.
Did that have very much effect on English people?
It didn't seem to distress them too much, no. In fact, they'll tell you on the movies and such that they build up their morale because of this bombardment. I can't vouch for that either.
Now, in backing up a little bit, what was the last base you were on in the United States before you went to Europe? Can you remember where you were stationed?
I was stationed in Denver, at Laurie Field and Fort Logan. One of those. I was on overseas shipment, and we were just gathering area.
Now, did you fly to Europe, or did you go by ship?
I went to the East Coast on a train, and we went through the northern part of the United States to get to New Jersey. And we left from New York on board the Queen Elizabeth, which was the largest ship in the world at that time. And I won't swear to this, but I think that, as I remember, there were 25,000 people on this ship. We did not go over in a convoy because we could outrun submarines and convoys. This was a fast ship. It took us just a few days to get across.
Now, when you came back, did you come back into the same place in New Jersey, or did you come into a different?
No, came back on a Liberty ship, the Hillary A. Herbert. We landed in Boston Harbor and was greeted there. It was really nice. And came straight home for 30 days.
Now, did you return to St. Louis from when you got to Boston? Did you come
straight to St. Louis
by train?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you mustered out, so to speak, in St. Louis?
Well, see, I was young. I hadn't been in the service long, less than 3 years. So I didn't have enough points to get out. I don't remember how many I needed, but I didn't have enough points to get out. So I reported back at the end of my leave and went to Roof Field and Laurie Field in Florida in the 3rd Air Force. And I helped muster out other people for quite a while, for several months, and then they lowered the number of points you needed, and I came on.
Actually, I didn't ever know you were down in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So you were down there for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other special event or anything that, did you get married while you were in service, or did you get married after you got out of service?
When I came home from the service, I went to Missouri U and graduated from Missouri U and got married 2 years later.
All right. I know that you worked in St. Charles or somewhere in that area at one time. I remember I first met you after you came to Palmyra.
In 1968.
Yeah. I think it was about, I bumped into you one time. You and your wife Gloria used to go out different places to eat. I remember one time you were at a place called the Palms up in Fort Madison. And Alice and I were just happened to be there and met you. I think that was the first time that I ever met you. We became good friends after that.
Yeah.
Sure did. Well, Ken, I want to thank you for stopping by and going with us. I was really glad to talk with you. That would be a cutoff. That's my signal when I shake hands, so you can cut it off.
Same as doing
But
it.
some people won't shake my hand.
Okay.
We'll get, she'll give you just a sheet kind of to jot some things down and pictures with it and so forth, and that will be kept separately. It'll be kept at the library. And it'll be kind of kept in the genealogy section of the library. She's going to have a whole area filled with, and we're going to do all World War II first, and then Korea, and then we're going to do Vietnam. Then we'll go back and pick up Grenada and Kosovo.
Is that right?
And I don't know if I'll make it through all of that.
This is like
If I can get through the Korean part of this, somebody else may get the rest.
And this is the residents of the town of Palmyra.
Yeah.
This is people of Palmyra.
Well, Palmyra area.
Oh, I see.
Probably not too much in the way of Hannibal, but Palmyra area, either living here now or have lived here during the time you were in service.
Roger, did you ever talk, I'm sure you have talked with Archie Houston and got his story to the water?
Yeah, I had a lot of talk. I wish we would have had something like this before.
Oh, yeah.
I know that he went over the side of one of the landing craft at D-Day, and some of those cases we're going to, we won't, of course, be able to interview on tape, but we're going to try to get a written history.
Yeah,
Pretty good at
that
doing.
would be good.
And I know that Chuck has talked to Chuck on it, and so we'll try to get as good a record as we can. And about the only way we'll do that is from photo albums and so forth like that. And we'll put some of those photos.
But somebody like that, well, I assume that I was really impressed.
Well, yeah, he was right in the thick of that D-Day landing.
See the C-47, I think, pulled the glider. That was so impressive. I wish you had pictures of it. But you couldn't because it went on all over and over and over.
Those glider, they took some pretty heavy losses
Yeah.
in comparison to
A sad experience, yeah.
well, the Germans had built. They must have been expecting a little bit of something from glider because they built those things that stuck out of the ground and shrapnel and so forth. So I was just, I was 15 in World War II, and so I never got involved, and I had lots of relatives. I had an uncle that was in the submarine in the Atlantic, not the Pacific. He was guarding the Panama Canal, and they would go out to battle German submarines underwater. You know, and
That was quite a deal.
most of my
That was a disaster.
most of my people were all Navy people. You know, they were practically all of them. Cousins in the Navy, and one in the Seabees, and just
Particularly the two cousins and myself were close friends. One went to the Marines and the other the Navy, and I went to the Air Force.
that was with me. I went in the Army, or you went in the Army Air Force, and when I went in, it had just switched over to its own branch, and so I got one set of khakis and one set of blues. You know, the Army, I was attached, out of 47 months I was in the Air Force, I was attached to the Army over half the time. Of course, they always called me a bus driver because I had that blue uniform. So I was kind of the lone one to go in the Air Force. I wasn't sorry, but I just didn't, I don't know why, I just wanted to feel go in the Navy.
He took a aptitude test in high school, and anyone that got a score, acceptable score, was eligible for cadet, and that's what I signed into. But as I got out of college, Washington U College training, went to San Antonio, they had enough pilots there to trainees, and they didn't want any more at that time. So we worked 87 out of 100. That out one day I was in that group. Anyway, that's when I went over as a basic soldier. I repaired battle damage to airplanes.
Machine gun holes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were strafed and we and bombed. Not much bomb. But one morning we woke up in the field next to our barracks, which was 2.5 miles from the airport, the airfield. It was just full of incendiary bombs, which were phosphorus tube, about that big around and about that long, just sticking in the ground, and the ground was just covered with it. Bomb disposal people came and got it. And that wasn't 300 feet from the break.
I remember after World War II for years, and even fairly recently, that they'd be doing construction in London or something and come across unexploded ordnance in World War II.
I was in Trafalgar Square in London, that's in Northern. And what's the name of that cathedral? I've got a picture of it, but anyway, it had an unexploded bomb. You know how they have these bubbles now on the side of the cathedral? Right down there when it was, and I looked and I saw the bomb. Big thing. They had it boarded off, but you could see through the boards.
It was World War II was amazing in the fact that it's so global in nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it was fought in the Arctic and it was fought in the jungles, and you know, it was just
Yeah, a lot of people.
the logistics of supply was just terrific in World War II.
How could you ever accomplish that?
The logistics of the whole South Pacific, when you figure how far it was away, to just keep supplies was something.
To bring our airplanes over and fly to South America to Africa, you know, to England, rather than go across the other.
Yeah.
That was quite an experience on the Queen Elizabeth. That was quite a boat. Can you imagine that many people? We slept 7 deep in a parking lot in the boat. 7 deep, 7 hammocks.
Well, that would be better than going on one of those Liberty ships.
Oh yeah, I came back home.
I spent 5 days on Liberty ship. I was going out of San Francisco, and those were uncomfortable things.
I don't know why, but we didn't have enough valve. And we rock a little, and that old screw would hit the water. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And that's what you were doing all day long. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Or it would come up out of the water and make that terrible noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you be, Roger.
Okay.